Hey everyone, this is Trish coming back with a second video. I thought I'd do a little update. I'm 2 weeks out after having a vertical sleeve gastrectomy or sleeve bariatric surgery. As a reminder, to start this process, I started back in June. So June 13th, 2020, my highest weight was 395 pounds. Prior to surgery, I had kicked ass and lost 81 pounds pre-surgery. So December 13th, I think, was my last weigh-in before surgery. I was at 314 pounds. Today, 2 weeks after surgery, I'm at 299.5 pounds. So I've broken the 300 mark and I'm back into the 200s, which is amazing. It's been a really long time since I've been under 300 pounds, which is sad to say, but I'm really excited for the progress so far. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what surgery prep looked like, what surgery was like having my procedure during the time of COVID, and then what recovery has been like since, and some plans for goals coming up. So really quickly, right now, so total I'm down 96 pounds, really close to that century mark. So I'm hoping to hit that within the next week and a half. Prior to surgery. So prep for surgery was really just making sure that I stuck to the same low carb, kind of low to moderate fat diet that I was already eating. I did switch over to doing a partial liquid diet 2 weeks before surgery. So 2 protein shakes a day, 1 healthy meal, and then, veggies, jello, snacks, as long as they were sugar-free. The day before surgery is liquids only. So I could have protein shake. I could have broth, which is honestly what I did, is season up some chicken broth and had that. I also went and invested for post-surgery in protein waters to make sure that I'm able to get to my protein and hydration goals post-surgery, which is difficult. I'll talk about that as well. So day before surgery, the liquid all day was not too much of an issue because I had kind of trained myself for this. Dinner was a little tougher, especially going to bed. I was definitely a little bit more hungry from sticking to liquids, but I did okay, did fine. Pre-surgery, my doctor really worked with me ahead of time and gave me a whole list of medications that I picked up to preemptively treat pain and nausea for surgery. So the night before surgery, they gave me a motion sickness patch that I put on behind my ear to prep for surgery and to help fight nausea ahead of time. So I did that, and then drank a G2 Gatorade. So they suggested that because it's lower sugar, but still enough that would kind of sustain my body since I wasn't going to be taking anything in. So one of those the night before surgery, and then the morning of surgery, my surgery was scheduled for 7:30 a.m. So I had to be at the hospital at 6. So got up early. 3 hours before surgery, I had a list of medications to take. So some Tylenol, they gave me gabapentin to help fight pain, something called Emend to help fight nausea, and I believe there was one other, but again, it's a lot. So did all that. No makeup, had to take out any, piercings, no jewelry, couldn't really take anything with me except my cell phone and charger. Everything else had to stay at home. So no overnight bag, no nothing. I went in loose fitting pajamas. They tell you to wear loose fitting clothing for your ride home so it fits over and doesn't constrict your stomach after the incisions. So I got to the hospital. My husband unfortunately couldn't come in with me, so I had to say goodbye to him outside. And then as soon as I was checked in, and within a few minutes, they already had me back to pre-op. So in pre-op, you change, put all of your stuff in a bag. They label it to keep it with you, and then started prepping me for surgery. So morning of, it's funny, there was a little bit of confusion because they were starting to try and give me the same medications I had already taken in the morning before arriving at the hospital. So I had to let them know, no, the doctor told me to take these 3 hours before surgery. I already have them in my system. I'm good to go. So for anybody going through this, if they do kind of the same thing, be your own advocate, ask questions about what they're wanting you to take, and make sure to speak up about any medication that you already have taken. So after that point, they get you in the hospital bed, and then they start running an IV. It took them a couple times. They actually blew out a vein in my left hand, my left arm, and then finally called somebody else over that was the pro. And one quick shot had it in my right hand. Before they start giving you any meds, they were giving me a little bit of fluids. And then essentially waiting for your nurse, the surgeon, and the anesthesiologist to check in with you, answer some questions. They give you some paperwork that goes with your stuff. And honestly, it went by really fast, for me, faster than I thought it would. Obviously, I was nervous. Once they wheeled me in, they told me, okay, we're going to give you something to relax you now. So they did. And, I started to feel a little woozy pretty much immediately. And then by the time they wheeled me into the operating room, I was already starting to kind of go out. So I remember rolling in and looking up and seeing equipment out of the way, lights and such. And then I blinked and woke up in recovery. So it went by like that. I actually woke up thinking, did they even do the surgery yet? And the only reason I knew there had to be something is I could hear monitors beeping, and I felt a burning sensation in my stomach. So that was the oddest thing. I remember being super out of it, but trying to wake up, trying to come out of it. And the nurse in the recovery area coming over and telling me to take deep breaths. So part of having surgery is when they do the incisions, they actually inflate your stomach with air so that they have room to work and not nick other, the sidewalls and all that kind of stuff. So when they do that, it compresses your lungs. So when I'm not on a ventilator or not on oxygen there, and I'm in recovery, the biggest thing is to try and reinflate my lungs. So I remember in a haze glancing up at the monitor and seeing my oxygen levels kind of low. So she kept reminding me to take big breaths, take big breaths. So as I was coming out of it, I was taking big breaths. And then the whole time I could hear the nurse on the phone checking in to see if I had gotten a room assigned yet. And then I would say within 30 to 45 minutes after I woke up, I was transported into my own room. So that was good. They checked in with me. The recovery nurses were lovely. They relayed to me that everything had gone really well and, no complications with surgery. I would likely have a little bit of a sore throat because I was intubated. They actually, for sleeve gastrectomy, typically run something down your throat into your stomach to give them a reference for the amount of space that you need in your stomach post-surgery. So again, they ask about pain. I didn't have any pain immediately post-surgery because of everything they gave me and everything I took ahead of time, just that burning sensation. So transport me to my room, get me settled. you really can't have anything. All I did was doze. I dozed off to sleep a little bit, would wake back up. Somebody would come in to check on me, ask questions, test my blood sugar. That started happening, I would say, the night of surgery. They checked my blood sugar before and it was normal. And then later in the evening after surgery. So you have nothing to eat or drink the day of surgery at all. Trust me, you don't really want any, except that your mouth is kind of dry. I was instructed to bring sugar-free chewing gum. You just have to be really careful because you can't swallow it, to kind of help moisten your mouth and get things moving again. It helps get your bowels moving again, apparently. So you just have to make sure to spit that out. At the hospital I was at, I was able to have ice chips. Those were a lifesaver because I could at least suck on that or chew on those. And it kind of helped keep me from feeling like I had cotton mouth the whole time. So you can take small sips of water just to take medications that you're given. So, they start giving you Tylenol on a pretty regular schedule. They start giving you gabapentin on a pretty regular schedule. It was difficult to take pills immediately after surgery. Obviously, everything's still very swollen in there. But by the next morning, I was definitely ready to graduate to liquids. Another big thing that I think helped me not spend any extra time in the hospital was every few hours, so about every 4 hours, they come in and get you up to walk. So when you start out, you have a thing that says you're a fall risk. They give you, in my hospital, these little yellow grippy socks. And the yellow means you're a fall risk. Somebody has to be with you to walk or get up to go to the bathroom or anything. Which I didn't really have to go to the bathroom for a while, not till the next day. And in the beginning, couldn't pee at all. I actually had to push to get pee out. I know this is graphic, but this is real. That got better. I was finally able to go with no issue before I was discharged from the hospital, which is great. So the morning after surgery, so 7 a.m., I would say surgery was done and I was in recovery within 45 minutes to an hour, and then in recovery for a couple hours. It took me a little while to wake up completely from it. And then in and out all evening, overnight, and then in the morning, they came in and graduated me to full liquids after I spoke to the surgeon. So he was saying, again, everything went great. I was a textbook case, no issues, which is fantastic. So graduate to liquids. Water was fine as long as I took very small sips. The sensation is really odd. It still is weird now. You have to be very careful how much you drink. Tiny, tiny, small sips at a time. And you kind of have to let that work through your system before you take more. Over the last 2 weeks, that's gotten better. So we'll talk a little bit more about kind of how much I can drink. I had a really hard time with the protein shake once we tried it. So I think I had some juice and the juice wasn't going great. I really stuck to water. And then protein shake was a little too thick. So I should have probably mixed it with water to begin with to take small sips. I got really nauseous after taking just a sip or two of the protein shake. So day of really keeping to, or I'm sorry, next day after surgery, really keeping to thin liquids is really important and something I would recommend. Everyone's different, but there you go. Because I was able to keep pain at bay, really fight off nausea. I really didn't have much, and be able to use the restroom. I was able to be discharged the next day. So I was in for, I would say I got discharged around 5 p.m.-ish, something like that. And then once I got home in the evening, obviously I'm still exhausted, I'm still drained. I haven't had anything really to eat or drink in 3 days. So I was pretty pooped. So got home, was trying to take in more liquids and got ahead of myself and threw up a little bit. So it's one of the things they really don't want you to do. I will say this, pre-surgery, if I am sick, I'm a puker. And I break blood vessels in my face. Like, it's just like a struggle. It's violent. Ted says you can hear me from outside the house. Like, it's terrible. Post-surgery, this was like somebody flipped a switch and it just came out. So be very careful and make sure that you're only taking in that small, like 1 ounce at a time, and break that 1 ounce up into little sips. Like, I think I took 3 sips to get to the full ounce of liquid. Wait for that to kind of work through before you start trying to do any more. Over the first week, I was definitely lethargic. I could do short walks, and I did those 3 times a day. And then really just spent a lot of time recuperating. So binge watching shows. Ted was able to be here with me, thankfully. And then the one day that he did have to work, my best friend came over, which was great, and kind of kept me company. I'm able to do a full liquid diet. So that means I can do low sugar juices, water, protein water, again, which I highly recommend, which I have to drink a little of now because I'm kind of behind on my water intake. Protein shakes. So the first week I thinned them out. I did half protein shake and about half water. And that really helped me get those down. The first day was after surgery at home. So day 2 post-surgery. I had a really hard time getting to my hydration and protein goals. I think they told me to try the first week, try and shoot for at least 48 ounces of liquid. And I think it was like 32 grams of protein, which is not very much. And I struggled with that the first day that I was home for the full day. After that, it started getting a little easier. I started kind of figuring out when I needed to start. I have to take an antacid first thing in the morning, a Prilosec, and then I have a passel of medications to take for a little while. So luckily for me, I didn't have pain bad enough that I would need the strong stuff. So they gave me some opioid type painkillers. I'm actually turning those into the pharmacy because I didn't need to use any of them. The gabapentin and the Tylenol worked fine for me. And I'm kind of weaning off of that. I haven't had any pain meds today, which is great. I have multivitamin patches that I'm doing just so that I don't have to chew up or swallow more pills because I need the space. I also have to take, I still have a gallbladder, so I have to take something called Actigol 3 times a day for 6 months. I did not take that the first week. I actually just started that recently because the pills are a little larger. It was harder to take, which was fine with my doctor. And then now I'm typically getting closer to 64 ounces of liquid a day. All liquids count. I have soups that I either blend or strain to make sure they're thin enough. I usually thin them out with a little chicken broth or bone broth just to make sure they're a little easier for me. But it's getting easier and easier for me to have a little thicker soups, not really thick. But again, no chunks. Again, it's either blended or strained, usually blended with some additional chicken broth added. And that seems to be going really well. And I'm now on to drinking normal protein shakes, not having to water them down. I do have to go slow and I have to drink throughout the day. And actually I'm going to take another drink because I have to. And I would say I'm working toward my protein goals. I am a little taller than their average patient, so I'm 5'7", I have to get about 72 grams of protein a day overall. And I would say I'm probably getting closer to 60 right now, which is fine. They said, you can move up to that. Most days I am getting at least the 72 grams, if not more. So I'm really trying to make sure that I stick to those protein goals. So how long does this last? This liquid diet is 4 weeks, so you're essentially allowing your stomach to fully heal before you start adding additional foods. So this next week, I'll have an appointment with the dietitian just by video chat to talk through that transition and going slow. That is the big thing. I sip all day long. I have to eat like a half a spoonful at a time when I'm having soup. It's still a strange sensation. Whenever I'm out doing my walks now, which are getting longer, it's back to kind of my normal fitness walk that I used to do. And typically that's twice a day. So today I actually had to run out to the store. I think I'm at like 7,000 steps for the day. So it's really good. I'm definitely getting more energy than I did. I'm still not 100% energy level just because, again, I'm having all liquids at the moment. But I'm excited to see what happens as I get to solid foods again and can start working in some stuff that will be a little easier, especially once we're post-COVID and you can eat at a restaurant again, being able to kind of plan for those things, because again, my portion sizes are going to be much smaller than they used to be. So overall, once I'm fully recovered and able to have solids again, eventually I will be at the place where I can have typically about 3 to 5 ounces of food for one meal at a time. The goal is to stick to 3 meals a day, make them as protein packed as possible, and healthy, not so fatty. So that you can maintain weight loss. I think maybe that's one of the biggest misunderstandings about this whole process is this isn't magic. So you still have to make the right choices to make this work. And for me, I definitely don't want to lose the momentum that I've already made on my own. This last week has been hard. Last week was Christmas, and over the holidays, we didn't do much typically before, but baking was a big part of it. So, going to spend time with my mom and baking old family recipes and being together and enjoying each other and enjoying delicious, tasty things was always a part of my kind of end of year routine. And not having that was tough for me. And again, being quarantined because post-surgery, you're still working on getting your lungs fully reinflated. So that's a high risk for me for COVID. I did have to use what they call an incentive spirometer that you blow into you inhale, not blow into. You inhale slowly to try and help reinflate your lungs and get that going. So again, I'm feeling better now, but it was definitely something to worry about. So we had very few visitors, only people that were in our bubble. I got flowers from a few people, which was lovely, and a few cards, text messages, people checking in, and I really appreciate everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the side effects of the motion sickness patch. So it worked really well for me to fight off nausea. The only issue was post-surgery, after coming out of anesthesia and still having the patch on, I had terrible blurry vision. So it was really difficult for me to kind of keep in touch with anybody. It was hard to text. I could hardly see to make out lettering. Once the patch came off, it actually went away. And once I went reading again through all of the side effects, blurry vision is one of the more common side effects with that motion sickness patch. So Good to know. If you don't mind that and can handle it for, 48 hours, I do highly recommend it, because I think it was a big part of why I didn't get really bad nausea post-surgery. At least that's what worked for me. As I said, the last week or so has been a little bit more of a struggle having liquids only, especially it's football season, guys. And I love football. The problem is all the commercials are mainly food. So seeing all the delicious things that I would have eaten 7 months ago has been tough, but it's more opportunity for me to practice kind of making sure that I can keep mind over matter, and that I can stay focused on what this process means to me and what I hope to do in the long run, right? I'm 96 pounds down in just over 6 months. That's insane. 6.5 months. Again, I never thought that I would be able to pull that off, and the bulk of it being on my own pre-surgery. So I want to keep up the momentum, and I hope that, again, like I said in the last video, sharing my experience might help other people too. The one big thing for me, I think, going forward is people have asked, well, now that you've done this, what are your New Year's resolutions going to be? I don't make New Year's resolutions, and there's a good reason why. Because most people fail at them. What I do is make an agreement with myself every day about making good choices over time. This isn't about body shaming anybody. It's not about fat shaming. It's not about hating myself. I never hated myself. I was unhappy with where I was because I felt unhealthy. But I still love myself and appreciate this body, even though I'm getting lunch lady arms. Let's face it, the loose skin is going to be a thing for me. But I want to do best by this body because it's carried me this far through life. And I want to make sure that it can carry me as far as possible, that I can have a good long life, that I can live the years that I have left truly, and not just exist in this body. So no resolutions for me. I would highly recommend that if you're thinking about making a New Year's resolution to lose weight, if you're considering a crazy diet thing, think twice. Don't wait till New Year's. Make the agreement with yourself today, right now. I was always somebody that participated in the tomorrow diet. I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow's never today. So it's too easy to push off. You can start making those decisions now to take better care of yourself if that's what you want. So I think my journey has really taught me a lot about not just self-acceptance, but what I'm capable of when I put my mind to it. So I wish that for all of you that want it too. If you have questions, if you want to follow me, I post updates on kind of the weight loss journey and where I'm at. And I promise I'll post more pictures. I'm terrible about that. I hate taking pictures of myself. Even recording myself right now is a little odd. But I felt like it was a good thing to, be able to share if people are interested. So you can find me at Incredible Shrinking Trish on Instagram. Give me a follow. I'll like to follow you back. You can, DM me questions about the process or about what I've gone through or about my pre-surgery weight loss. And I'd be happy to help share whatever I can if it'll help other people. So with that, I will wrap it up. Thanks, guys, and Happy New Year.